What kind of society puts pigs on trial, punishes illness, and makes clothing a crime? Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that sleeping, laughing, what you wear, or even where you walk at night could turn you into a criminal. Not because you harmed anyone, not because you stole or killed, but because the law said so. In the Middle Ages, laws were not always written to protect people. Sometimes they were written to control fear, to enforce hierarchy, or to give the illusion that chaos could be mastered. This is the story of the strangest laws that once ruled medieval life. Laws that seem absurd today, but once decided who lived safely and who suffered. In medieval cities, night was dangerous. There were no street light. Fires could destroy entire towns. Disease was invisible. Crime was blamed on darkness itself. So cities created a simple rule. When the bell rings, the city sleeps. This was curfew. Once the evening bell sounded, no one was allowed outside. Not for a visit, not for a conversation, not even to help a neighbor. If you were caught outside after curfew, you were treated as suspicious by default. The law did not ask why you were outside. Being outside was the crime. In the Middle Ages, sleep was not a right. It was a command. Now imagine this. You put on fine clothes, a beautiful color, luxurious fabric, and suddenly you are breaking the law. Medieval societies enforced sumptuary laws, rules that decided what you were allowed to wear, based on your social class. Silk, only nobles. Fur, only the wealthy. Certain colors, forbidden to peasant. Why? Because clothing was power. If a poor man dressed like a noble, he blurred the social order, and that terrified authorities. Fashion was not personal expression, it was obedience. In medieval times, your clothes could accuse you. This is not a metaphor. In the Middle Ages, animals were literally put on trial. Pigs that killed children were arrested. Horses were punished for accident. Rat was summoned to court for destroying crops. In some cases, animals were assigned lawyers. Yes, lawyers. Why would a society do this? Because medieval people believed law had to appear universal. If justice failed to respond, chaos would win. So they staged trials, not because animals understood guilt, but because humans needed to believe order still existed. It wasn't justice, it was reassurance. When the Black Death spread across Europe, no one understood what caused it. There were no germs, no science, only fear. So, laws became brutal. People suspected of carrying disease were forced to wear signs, carry bells, or live isolated from society. Cities sealed the gate. Travelers were banned. The sick were treated as threat, not victims. Some laws punished people simply for being ill. In moments of mass fear, the laws stopped protecting life and began protecting the illusion of safety. Justice in the Middle Ages was not blind. It was prized. In many feudal systems, crimes could be settled with fines. The wealthy paid money. The poor paid with pain. The same crime, two different outcomes. The law did not promise equality. It promised order. And order favored those who owned land, weapons, and influence. The strangest laws were not always ridiculous. Some were terrifying because they felt normal. In medieval Europe, words could kill. Speaking against authority, asking the wrong question, or thinking differently could be labeled heresy. Heresy was not just disagreement, it was a crime against the universe itself. Some laws punished belief, not action, intent, not harm. The law reached into the mind, and fear taught people to silence themselves before the law ever needed to. So why were medieval laws so strange? Because the Middle Ages were ruled by fear of the unknown, fear of disease, fear of disorder, fear of losing control. Law was not always justice. It was a tool for survival, a shield against chaos, a way to make sense of a world that felt constantly on the edge of collapse. These laws were not written by monsters. They were written by humans, frightened humans, trying to control a reality they barely understood. And that is the most unsettling truth of all, because it reminds us that the strangest laws are born not from cruelty, but from fear. And remember, history's laws may be gone, but fear still writes rules.